Hello everybody, my name is Ace, and I will be your host today for something different. Today I'm going to be starting a new series by the name of the Emergency Analysis Series, a series in which I discuss majorly popular and influential EAS scenarios and try and figure out what makes them so good and beloved. Today we'll be discussing what is likely the most well-known EAS scenario of all time by EMC Chap, formerly known as Studio Q. Released on May 31st, 2018, EF6 has amassed nearly 2.3 million views on YouTube. This is by far the most viewed EAS scenario on the platform, and second place isn't even within a million views of it. Obviously, the scenario has to do something special to garner so much attention and love. So, what makes EF6 such a great EAS scenario? Let's get into that. EF6 starts off by introducing us to the concept of what an EF6 tornado may look like. Chap gives us a brief rundown on the damage that particularly intense tornadoes can cause, and how that could get worse due to global warming. The main draw Chap is trying to go for is a tornado that is damn near impossible to survive. He describes a day where the National Weather Service issues a truly unprecedented forecast, a 60% chance of significant tornadoes within the northeastern region of Texas. Before the video starts, a reminder of just how vulnerable we can be to Mother Nature. The scenario starts off simply enough, with a tornado watch being issued for the forecast area in Texas. To portray just how severe the situation will get, Chap makes good use of dire language within the watch text to indicate that this is a dangerous situation. A few hours later, a severe thunderstorm is issued for the northeastern Dallas Metroplex, but this is not the storm that will be causing problems today. Shortly thereafter, a new storm in Hunt County is tornado warned and has already been confirmed by weather spotters. Following this tornado warning, Chap transitions over to a very well done news screen, which I will talk about in more detail later. Basically, two text-to-speech voices are covering the situation. These screens will be heavily used throughout the scenario. Over the 5 or so minutes that the news broadcast is playing, 2 different tornado warnings and a severe thunderstorm warning are issued. Shortly after the broadcast, a tornado emergency is issued for Glen Rose in Texas.
A large and extremely dangerous tornado is on the ground. Take immediate tornado precautions. This is an emergency situation.
A second tornado warning is issued for a different storm, however, no tornado is confirmed. Following this broadcast, a tornado warning is issued again for the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area. Emergency management confirms the existence of a large, multi-vortex tornado. The wording in this alert is even more dire than that of the previous ones.
Highway overpasses. If you cannot safely drive away from the tornado, as a last resort, either park your vehicle and stay put, or abandon your vehicle and lie down in a low-lying area and protect yourself from flying debris.
Power ends up being cut off to the station broadcasting the EAS alert, and we are brought back to the Channel 7 news screens that I mentioned earlier. Right as the screen starts, a police officer is brought onto the show via phone call to report what he is seeing, and Police Officer Dave paints quite the chilling picture of the carnage that has occurred already.
Let's go to Dave Wilcox of the Arlington Police Department, who is just now arriving on the scene. Dave, what's
Jeff,
the damage?
it's bad. It's so bad. I have never seen anything like this in my life. The tornado came through about 10 minutes ago, and there are still large chunks of concrete and steel falling from the sky.
Oh God. That is definitely not what we wanted to hear. We are unable to get a visual out there, so can you describe it for us?
That's about all I can say right now. I'm currently sheltering in my vehicle because it's still too dangerous to venture outside. Once I can move from this spot, I will tell you everything I can.
After Dave explains a bit more about his situation, he is cut off by the news anchor as a new tornado warning has been issued. Chap continues to lay it on very thick, indicating that this is a storm unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Our inability to make it to ground zero is making this situation all the more deadly.
Dave, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have an urgent message to pass along. Bill, what's coming through the wire?
Jeff, this is a tornado emergency for Dallas and points east, and I'm seeing words I've never seen in a warning bulletin. They're calling this a potential mass casualty situation.
Oh my God.
This is already incredibly unnerving, but just one last touch is added on to the meteorologist's monologue.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's happening. This might be the worst case scenario based on what I've been hearing recently.
The Weather Service is advising everyone in the eastern metroplex to go underground, and those with no underground shelter need to relocate to one. I'm also getting reports that several ground-level safe rooms have been heavily damaged or destroyed.
Are you kidding
This
me?
is not good. Downtown Dallas is right in the path of this monster.
I have never heard of such a thing in my life. They're right. This might be a mass casualty situation. Sirens are going off now in downtown Dallas.
The meteorologist has finished talking, police officer Dave Wilcox is patched back in, and we learn about the devastation that has already occurred.
Do we have anything from Dave Wilcox? We do? Okay, let's patch him in. Dave, this is Jeff
Oh
Kendrick
my
again.
God.
Can you
Jeff?
hear me?
Loud and clear, Jeff. This is absolutely horrifying. I can barely describe this complete. I can't even call it destruction. This is apocalyptic.
What are you seeing right now?
There is absolutely nothing left. Plumbing and cables have been ripped completely from the ground. Foundations are scoured. Safe rooms have been completely obliterated.
Oh,
and
dear
between
Lord.
what's left of the infrastructure, all I can see is a vast expanse of mud. It's as if the city was dug up and laid to waste.
Do we have any information on casualties yet?
I'm still searching as we speak. It's not looking good. I'll call you back later.
Okay, Dave. Stay safe out there.
Yet another tornado emergency is issued for Dallas County and locations to the east. The radar screen paints what might just be one of the most unnerving images you could show to a meteorologist.
And let us
Oh
know
my
if new
God.
developments
Jeff.
arise.
Jeff, look at this. This is the last shot from our sky cam in Grand Prairie before it was knocked offline. This was about 3 minutes ago.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Folks, it doesn't get any worse than this. Everyone in Dallas and surrounding areas need to find an underground shelter. Again, this is what the Grand Prairie Skycam caught for a split second while we were on the phone with Dave a few minutes ago. This thing is, I can't even describe it. Actually, I'm going to ask all of our non-essential personnel to head down to the basement. I'd say this is less than 5 minutes away. Irving, Cockrell Hill, downtown, University Park, Mesquite, everyone, take cover immediately. This is a tornado emergency for the entire eastern half of the Metroplex. Oh my God, look at that debris ball. The storm to the south of it is actually caught in the inflow jet. And look at the high reflectivity in the inflow. That's not precipitation, that's debris. There is so much debris that Doppler 7 thinks it's hail or heavy rain. Everything about this storm spells disaster for everyone in its path. Remember what Dave told us, infrastructure has been dug up and safe rooms have been destroyed. There is no time to evacuate. Everyone in downtown Dallas needs to take cover in their present location right now. If there is no underground shelter nearby, your best chance of survival would be to go to the innermost room of the
Jeff.
building.
After the two men in the studio realize the tornado is getting a little too close, they decide to evacuate to a storm shelter. The station's power is cut off shortly after.
On the
Let's
ground
go.
floor.
We're going downstairs.
We're moving downstairs. Everyone get to the basement right now. Folks, do everything in your power to protect yourself. Let's go. Let's go.
Move it.
Hurry. Hit the deck.
Another tornado warning follows, indicating much of what we've heard already, but adding in more detail about the potential longer-term damage of the storm.
You could be killed if not underground or in a tornado shelter. Flying debris will be deadly to those caught without shelter. Homes and businesses will be completely swept from their foundations. Trees will be uprooted or snapped. Debris will block most roadways. Complete destruction of entire neighborhoods is likely making the area unrecognizable to survivors.
Chap then jumps forward about 1 hour to a civil danger warning for numerous counties. Yet again, Chap inserts another terrifying mental image into our heads.
Mass destruction from the tornado that occurred about an hour ago has left most roads in the Metroplex impassable. Emergency vehicles are currently unable to reach those in need of assistance. In addition, many residents are reportedly trapped in underground shelters.
A few hours later, the news is broken to the rest of the nation, and local stations are covering the aftermath. A lady from Station 7 discusses her experience with the tornado, the president briefs the nation, and that is the end of the scenario story-wise. A few more screens are shown discussing the aftermath of the tornado, and we are left with this final message. Overall, I think the story is incredibly well executed, and the point in me showing those previous clips to you is to illustrate just how well Chap was able to set the atmosphere and tone with this scenario. A real, genuine sense of dread looms throughout the entire video, only getting more and more intense as the storm begins to wreak havoc on Dallas. The plot was very well written, with no noticeable plot holes or details that don't make sense. Overall, a very down-to-earth scenario that was obviously very well researched and constructed. My only gripe from a story perspective is mostly just a nitpick. I do feel like some of the alerts could have been cut out, like the multiple extra tornado warnings towards the latter part of the scenario, though I will say I do understand why it played out like that. It is a more realistic portrayal of the live coverage this event would have in real life, especially during a tornado outbreak. These storms would be popping left and right. But other than that, I don't really have any issues with the plot at all. So next up, arguably one of the most important parts of the scenario is the visual and auditory presentation. So, in my opinion, EF6 laid the groundwork for the newer wave of EAS creators that would come in through 2019 and through 2022, including myself. In terms of the EAS alert screens, they are relatively basic, but they are accurate to real life and very well put together. I do want to point out that in 2018, when the scenario came out, most people were still using the basic Easy Plus screens, so it makes sense that the screens are basic, and I'm not criticizing. It does help keep the atmosphere of the video grounded and close to reality. But the real star of the show visually is those new screens. Absolutely fantastic, and has definitely influenced the presentation on modern EAS scenarios. I know creators like Radioactive Girl 00 have made their own versions of these screens, and I've even tried my hand at it recently. In terms of audio presentation, it fits well for 2018 standards, and I also do think the way Chap told the story through characters had a major influence on future creators, especially me. It's something I've strived to do, but it started to pop up elsewhere as well. Granted, it's now done by actual human voices most of the time, rather than TTS, but again, that's a standard that is more recent to the community. Overall, EF6 is a perfect example of doing more with less. Other than the news screens, everything is relatively simple, but it works in Chap's favor. It's been a major influence to me and many other creators, and I'm sure it will continue to influence the design of EAS scenarios in the future. And then there's the fear factor. The horror that EF6 instills in the viewer is palpable. Chap earns those genuine scares through subtle horror. As you saw in the clips I played earlier, most of the horror is done through the dialogue. People that are knowledgeable in the field of meteorology will definitely get an extra kick out of EF6, as all the small weather-related details really make it pop. This is probably one of the most unsettling scenarios I've seen in my life, and I'm serious about that. The short presentations at the beginning and the end of the scenario also really help set the tone and tie everything together, and by the end it works as an effective call to action. It's a reminder that this type of event could theoretically happen any day now. So now that we've analyzed EF6, what makes it so special? In my opinion, it's the down-to-earth presentation, the clever use of dialogue, and the well-researched background of the scenario. It just all makes for a very strongly believable and terrifying situation. Chap, if you're watching this video, I just want to say this. I know you haven't made an EAS scenario in a while, but your impact on the community and its creators is undeniable. EF6 became the most popular EAS scenario by a landslide, and it's clear to see why. An instant classic from the moment it was released, and a staple of the EAS community. So, do you have a scenario in mind you would like me to look into next? Let me know down below. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you next time with a new scenario of my own.